Welcome everyone to the 6th round of the FIDE Candidates 2024. On your screen you see Alireza Firouzja, who's been having a tough tournament here. He's lost 2 of his games without a single victory and he'll be looking to strike back today. He's come with his nice sunglasses and also his favorite, I believe, this yellow shirt which has a nice print on it. Vidit enters the arena and he has been in quite some good form but not has had the best of result. He beat Nakamura but then lost to Pragnananda and then lost even to Nepo. Yesterday he was winning his game against Caruana, but that game ended in a draw. So right now he's also on -1. He
Today is round 6.
closes his eyes, meditates a bit, and we are ready to go. Firouzja Vidit have had quite the history with each other, and I think Vidit has had a plus score against him. It's because Vidit's playing style somehow is very difficult for Firouzja's aggressive style. Let's see what happens today. Vidit gets ready. Today he took less time for his meditation before the game because he's been coming under time pressure. So he needs to be a little practical as well. We have the Sicilian on the board. Wow, that's interesting. So e4, c5. And now Vidit takes his time and brings his knight out to f3. Caruana had gone knight c6 against him, and to that Vidit had played bishop b5. But Firouzja plays d6. And I believe he wants to go for the Najdorf. Vidit is ready for the open Sicilian. So he plays his pawn to d4. Pawn takes pawn. And now Vidit captures back. Knight takes d4. Firouzja quickly brings his knight out to f6, attacking the pawn on e4. And Vidit has to defend it. There's also f3 here, but the most common move is knight to c3. Bringing a piece out, developing, and we have, whoa, not the Najdorf, we have the classical with knight c6. And you have to know the story behind this. Vidit actually used to play classical with black all his life when he was young. He played so many games with it. And Vidit goes for Sozin with bishop c4. Generally people go bishop g5, but he's gone for the Sozin, and now Firouzja quickly puts his queen on b6, attacks these 2 points so that Vidit cannot go bishop e3 because then b2 would hang. So Vidit quickly brings his knight back to b3. The bishop on c4 is slightly misplaced now because generally it wants to go here, but e6 is played by Firouzja now. So black has this nice center. Vidit will gain a tempo by attacking the queen with his bishop, but actually he foregoes it and goes bishop f4, attacking the pawn here on d6. Now knight e5 is a common move to defend that pawn, but Firouzja plays queen d8 back. That seems to be his prep here. Well, generally you don't want to move your queen so many times, but here Firouzja is essentially saying to Vidit, your pieces are also not that well placed, so I am happy with it. a6, very important to take control of the b5 square. So a6 played, and now Vidit plays a3. I think logical, because if you didn't do this, black was threatening b5, b4. So with a3, b4 would not come. Firouzja does play b5 now, attacking the bishop. The bishop moves back to e2, and now very important to go bishop e7. But Firouzja makes a very big error. He goes bishop b7, and the reason why this is bad is because this is now going to be met with long castle. Will Vidit find it? It's a very powerful move, and the point is, yes, he is playing it. Now knight e5 loses to take, bishop takes, pawn takes, check, and mate. And that's the reason why Firouzja can no longer now defend this pawn on d6. So he goes queen b6. He wants Vidit to chop this pawn so that he can long castle and pin this. So will Vidit fall into it? It's not losing per se, but it's not the best. Vidit finds the best move in the position. He goes g4, tempting Firouzja to take this pawn because he has some ideas there with g5 and maybe some central breaks. So g4 is such a cool move by Vidit, trying to gain space. Firouzja, daredevil, goes and chops off the pawn and asks Vidit, what is your plan? Well, Vidit has many moves, but there is one move which is clearly the best. Let's see if he's able to find it. He drinks his juice there. Firouzja looking very confident, but I think his position is in trouble here. Vidit looks to the side and he's calculating. He has seen the move and he pushes e5. What a move! If you play knight e5, bishop b5 loses the queen, and otherwise if you play d takes e5, there is bishop e3. Vidit gets up, queen h4 is met with bishop g5 take and queen d7. If you go queen g2, I have rook g1 and trapping the queen this way. And so Firouzja actually plays his knight to d7, which is slightly passive. Vidit now takes the pawn. He is got back his pawn, but the very important thing is that the bishop on f8 is completely trapped. It cannot move at all. He gets up and he knows that he's winning now. The only thing is, will he be able to handle his time well? He has 48 minutes on the clock to make 25 moves, because we are on move number 16 now. Firouzja has 1 hour 25 minutes. So Vidit first hits the queen. The queen has to move back now. Queen goes back to d8, and a logical move now is to just simply move your rook to this beautiful open file, and I think it also comes out away from the bishop's diagonal. But Vidit is thinking a lot for each of his moves. He's down to 26 minutes. He needs to make 23 more moves, but he also doesn't want to botch up this beautiful position. Remember, there's no increment, so Vidit has to speed up. Now the knight comes to e5. He's played his knight in the center, and what is Vidit going to do next? He plays his queen up to d4, and he's kind of putting pressure here, trying to enter this side. He goes rook to c8. Now this rook is attacking the knight on c3, and Vidit has to decide whether, whoa, he goes in, he's ready for this, which is completely fine. Take, bishop is hanging, and maybe that's the best defense for Firouzja, but he goes bishop c6. And now the point is, can Vidit snatch this pawn? It looks very risky. He takes it because rook a8 is trapping the queen. However, there is this amazing move bishop a7. By the way, Firouzja has played rook a8. He has trapped with its queen. Well, there's also knight b5. By the way, take here, knight c7 could be possible to play, but Vidit goes bishop a7. This is nice move. He pinned his bishop, but no one can attack it, and that is the most important thing. g6. Firouzja wants to play bishop here and castles, or even bishop here, check and castles, because if that happens, he would be doing pretty okay. And Vidit is pinned over there. He takes bishop takes b5. He wins another pawn. If we count the number of pawns, white is 2 pawns up. Bishop takes b5. Firouzja gives a check. Vidit quickly moves his king to the side. He has 15 minutes left. 17 more moves to make until reaching time control. Bishop takes b5, and here he's moving quickly. Knight takes b5 has happened, and Firouzja finally castles, but at what cost? He's already lost 2 pawns, but he's hoping to actually trick Vidit on time here. That is his main aim. Knight goes to c7. He's attacking the rook. Now if rook c8 is played, then you can simply bring your queen back, bishop back, and you are completely winning. So Firouzja has to decide how to keep that maximum pressure. He goes and chops off the pawn on g4, maybe threatening a fork here. Also certain things, this is pinned. So Vidit now thinking he takes the rook. He has 13 minutes left. He's speeding up for sure. We are on move number 26. So he has 1 minute per move. Queen takes a8. Now this pin is a little bit irritating. So Vidit wants to get rid of this pin. And what does he play? Queen e2. Nice move. Because if you take here, I'll simply take this. You are now exchange up. Also pawn up. Firouzja does take. Vidit takes the knight. And with absolutely no threats left in the position, with it still having 13 minutes for 12 moves, this looks very, very, very promising for Vidit to win. But let's see. It's always stressful when the time runs low. Bishop goes back to g7. Vidit plays his queen to c4. Pretty move because the queen wants to enter into c7. Firouzja plays queen to b7. Well, I don't know what is his plan to queen c7 because that would force kind of the trade of queens, right? Vidit, 12 minutes left, plays his queen to c7, now has 11 minutes left on the clock for 10 more moves to make. Firouzja trying to keep the queens, trying to keep the game as complicated as possible, hoping for some blunder from Vidit. Vidit goes rook to f4 because clearly if Vidit had time here, Black could resign with a safe conscience here, but he doesn't have time and he's trying to play. But Vidit has actually gotten up from the board. Queen e2 played. 10 minutes left. 9 more moves to make. The rook is attacked. The pawn is attacked. And Vidit plays the move rook d2. Very calm, very cool. Just improving his position. His knight is very solidly positioned. And also d7 knight is hanging. Firouzja comes back, queen to e5, he attacks the pawn and the rook. The rook has to be saved. He goes rook to d4. Just very simple. He says, Vidit says, if you remove this knight, I'm simply going to push it down the board. So, oh, can't push it down the board, guys. Queen will be lost. Okay, careful, careful. What is he going to do is the question. He plays knight f6. Vidit goes queen c5, offering a trade of queens. Doesn't fall for the stupid blunder that I made. Firouzja brings his knight to the center of the board. Remember, there's a mate also somewhere on b2. And Vidit now down to 5 minutes 50 seconds. He plays king a2. Useful move. No more checks in the position. And queen comes back to f6. Maybe now it's a good idea to just push your pawn to c3. That's what Vidit has done, and now everything is super solid. Fantastic. This is exactly what you want. As white, no more threats on the king. Bishop at 6 attacking the rook here. And Vidit now sacks his rook for the knight. Rook takes d5. This is a good move once again. Pawn takes, and now rook takes on d5. So he's once again 2 pawns up, and he is threatening to push his pawns. So very ideal transformation at the right time with 3 minutes 39 seconds left, but we are already on move 38. So 2 more moves for Vidit to play, and Firouzja may want to do something extremely tricky here, which might be very bad, but just make Vidit do that with less time, because once you get 30 minutes after 40 moves, the position is completely over. So bishop goes to f4. Vidit pushes his pawn, and now he's maybe just going to come in with the queen to c8. So Firouzja plays his rook to d8. And there's a win now. If you can bring your knight here to here. This is, by the way, also the 40th move. Yes, Vidit brings his knight to d4. He's threatening knight c6. And I think it's time for Firouzja to throw the towel, because he now also Vidit has 33 minutes. You can see Firouzja unhappy there for sure. This game has been totally dominated by Vidit from start to finish. Fantastic chess shown all along. And here Alireza Firouzja resigns. Vidit scores his second win of the candidates. First one came against Nakamura, second with Firouzja, and now two wins compensated by two losses. He moves on to 50% score. He has played the most exciting tournament now until now. He has had 4 decisive games. That's much more than what any player has managed to do here.